Have you ever looked at a business and wondered what really separates the ones that thrive from the ones that just struggle? It's not always about who has the most sales or the flashiest marketing. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the real blueprint for profitability, the margin maximization principle.
So let's just jump right in with a big question. What's the real engine of a successful business? Is it just racking up revenue? Is it nonstop growth? I mean, yeah, those things are important, but the true driver, the thing that tells you if a company is actually healthy and built to last, is something way more precise. It all comes down to the margin.
To make this real, let's put a number on it. Picture a company that brings in $1 million in revenue. Now let's say their costs, everything from salaries to supplies, add up to $700,000. That leaves them with $300,000 in profit. Simple enough, right? But the magic number is the 30% profit margin. That's the slice of every single dollar that the company actually gets to keep. And maximizing that slice is the entire name of the game.
Okay, let's get into section 1, why margins matter. Why do we obsess over this 1%? Well, because a profit margin is so much more than just a number on a spreadsheet. It's basically the heartbeat of the business. It tells you exactly how healthy and efficient the whole operation is.
Think about what a healthy margin actually does for a company. First, it creates financial stability. That's your safety net for when things get tough. That stability, in turn, makes you look really good to investors, which helps you get the cash you need to grow. And to get that good margin in the first place, you're forced to be operationally efficient. All of that gives you the strategic flexibility to innovate or pivot, which, you guessed it, builds a massive competitive advantage. It's this awesome self-reinforcing cycle.
So how do we actually build those kinds of margins? This brings us to the principle itself. And it's so important to get this one thing straight. This is a long-term strategy. It's not a bunch of short-term panicked moves.
And here it is, the official definition. I know, it sounds a little academic, but the key words in there are strategic and sustainably. It's about weaving everything together. Smart operations, really knowing your market, and having solid financial discipline to make that gap between what you earn and what you spend as wide as possible, and keeping it that way for the long haul.
And this chart just lays out the difference perfectly. I mean, look, any company can slash prices to pump up sales for a little while. Anyone can cut essential people or marketing to save a few bucks. But those are just reactive, short-term tactics. The margin maximization principle is the exact opposite. It's about smart, strategic pricing based on the value you offer. It's about finding real efficiencies and focusing on long-term value, not just a temporary sales bump.
So, how do you actually put this principle into practice? Well, we can break it all down into 4 foundational pillars. If you can get these right, you are building a seriously powerful engine for growing your margins year after year.
Now, the key thing to remember about these 4 pillars is that they have to work together. You can't just pick one and ignore the rest. A truly profitable company builds its entire strategy on all 4 of these ideas because they're all connected. First step, revenue optimization. And notice, this isn't just about making more sales. It's about getting smarter with the revenue you have. Are you pricing based on the actual value you provide? Are you finding ways to upsell or cross-sell to your existing customers? You have to remember, it is way more profitable to keep a happy customer than it is to constantly chase down new ones.
Second pillar, strategic cost management. And again, this is not about wild slash-and-burn budget cuts. This is the smart way. It's about fine-tuning your processes, making your supply chain way more efficient, and using technology to automate things and cut down on mistakes. It's about being lean, but in a really intelligent way, not just a cheap way.
All right, pillar number 3 is all about creating value. It's about answering the question, why should a customer choose you and maybe even pay more for it? You do it through constant innovation, building a powerful brand, and delivering an amazing customer experience. When you stand out, you escape that brutal trap of only competing on price, which is almost always a race to the bottom for your margins. And finally, our fourth pillar, which I know might sound a little counterintuitive, spending money. But we're talking about strategic investment, putting cash into marketing that actually works, training your team to be amazing, or upgrading your tech. That's not an expense. That's an investment in your future profitability. It's what fuels higher margins down the road.
Okay, so we've got the theory down. We have our 4 pillars. But how do companies actually apply this stuff in the real world? Let's look at some of the specific techniques they use to turn all this theory into actual bottom-line results.
Here's one really powerful tool. It's called activity-based costing. I know, it sounds super technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. First, you figure out the specific activities that are actually driving your costs. Then, you link those costs directly to your products or services. Once you can see that clearly, boom, you know exactly where the inefficiencies are, so you can either fix them or get rid of them altogether.
And of course, that's just one tool in the toolbox. Companies use lean management to just obsessively hunt down and eliminate waste everywhere. They do a portfolio analysis to figure out which products are their real moneymakers and double down on those. They use data analytics to find that perfect price point, and they're constantly benchmarking against their competitors to see how they can get an edge.
So, what does this look like when it all comes together? Let's check out a couple of industry giants that you definitely know who have absolutely mastered this principle, but in completely different ways. First, you gotta look at Apple. I mean, their entire strategy is a masterclass in Pillar 3, product differentiation. They focus on that premium design, that incredibly strong brand, and that seamless user experience to create a ton of perceived value. That is exactly why they can charge those high prices and get some of the best profit margins on the planet. They simply don't compete on price, they compete on value.
Now let's flip that on its head and look at Walmart. We all think of them for their low prices, but their success really comes from an absolute mastery of Pillar 2, strategic cost management. Their legendary supply chain efficiency, their incredible inventory management, it all allows them to stay profitable even on the thinnest of margins. They compete on ruthless, incredible efficiency. See? 2 totally different paths to the exact same goal.
So, what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? Well, it's that building sustainable, healthy margins is not a one-time project. It's a continuous journey. It means you have to see your entire business as one big interconnected system. You have to stay obsessed with creating real value for your customers, and you have to commit every single day to getting a little bit better, a little more efficient.
And that brings us to a final thought for you to take with you. The next time you're looking at a successful company, maybe it's your favorite brand or even the place you work, ask yourself this one simple question. Are they just chasing the next sale, or are they true masters of their margins? Because the answer to that question will tell you everything you really need to know about their future.